President Lyndon Johnson convened an emergency cabinet meeting, telling his advisors, quote, "What did you expect? When you put your foot on a man's neck and hold him down for 300 years and then you let him up, what's he going to do? He's going to knock your block off," unquote. To quell the violence, Johnson, alongside dozens of governors, mobilized the Army and National Guard. In total, $500 million worth of property was destroyed. At least 50 Americans killed, 3,000 seriously injured, 30,000 rioters arrested. And here's something else you might not know. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination would not be the last of 1968. Just 2 months after King was murdered, Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy was killed at a campaign event in Los Angeles. America plunged into another period of bitter division. Polling at the time showed the public split 50-50 on the Vietnam War, segregation, civil rights, women's rights, religious tolerance, and interracial marriage. In November 1968, Republican Richard Nixon narrowly defeated Hubert Humphrey in the presidential election. Popular vote, 43% for Nixon, 42.7% for Humphrey. Back after this. There is a growing real estate crime out there. The FBI calls it house stealing. Criminals forge your signature on one document, file it with a fake notary stamp. Just like that, your title's gone. Then criminals can take out loans or sell without you knowing. So, when is the last time you checked your home's title? Probably never. And the scammers know it. That's why I trust Home Title Lock's $1 million triple lock protection. You get 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud does occur, they'll spend up to $1 million to restore your title at no added cost. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code BILL250 now for a free title history report and access to your title expert. $250 when you sign up. HomeTitleLock.com, code BILL250. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KL2I HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Stocks continued their plunge today in the wake of tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell says the Trump tariffs will affect the economy.
It is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. The size and duration of these effects remains uncertain.
Mr. Powell's remarks courtesy of the Society for Advancing Business Editing and Writing. The Dow closed down over 2,000 points. President Trump is giving his administration more time to broker a deal for TikTok. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Congress had mandated that the popular social media platform be divested from China back in January or banned in the U.S. on national security grounds. But Donald Trump extended the deadline to this weekend in a bid to keep it running. On Friday, the president announced he's going to let TikTok operate in the U.S. for another 75 days while a deal is ironed out. He said he looks forward to working with TikTok and China to close the deal. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is seeking to reassure wary members of the U.S. commitment to NATO. Rubio says the U.S. wants NATO allies to eventually spend 5% of their GDP on defense.
I'm not saying overnight, but to get to that point, we think that's what NATO allies need to be spending for NATO to face the threats that it itself has identified and articulated. Here's the good news. The good news is everyone generally, with a couple exceptions, are spending more on defense today than they were 3, 4, 5 years ago. That's positive.
On Wall Street, once again, the Dow down by 2,231 points, the NASDAQ dropping 962. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
You want to give your dogs the very best. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Fido's to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers, from bananas to sweet potatoes. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Go to drfidos.com and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's drphytos.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers, mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high, 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from the morning show here for Common Sense Rental. That is sense with a C, your all-new Steel dealer in Fenton. We have got deals you just cannot miss. On April 25th, get 15% off all Echo items and get 15% off Red Max handheld products through April 6th. For Memorial Day weekend, get a 3-day rental for the price of just 1 day. By the way, we are now a Grasshopper mower dealer as well. Common Sense Rental, family-owned since 2009. We're on Gravois Road in Fenton or online at commonsenserental.com.
History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that can host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
For instance, with TikTok as an example, we have a situation with TikTok where China will probably say, we'll approve a deal, but will you do something on the tariff? The tariffs give us great power to negotiate. Always have. I've used them very well in the first administration, as you saw, but now we're taking it to a whole new level because it's a worldwide situation. And it's very exciting to see.
TikTok and tariffs all in one clip.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Friday's very soggy edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. if you are listening to us anywhere in the metropolitan St. Louis region, or frankly, anywhere across the heartland, you're probably getting wet right now. Please be very careful. There are a multitude of flood warnings, thunderstorm warnings, hopefully no tornado warnings, and I don't think we're out of the woods until about 24 hours from now. So welcome to the program, and good afternoon, Chris Arps.
You know what they say, Tim? April rain, showers bring May flowers. Did I get it right? April showers.
Won't be fooled again.
April showers bring May flowers. And,
do you know what Mayflowers bring?
What do they bring?
Pilgrims.
And then in the 20th century, you had May Day parades with the communists having parades down in major cities. But it's the rainy season. It's what we have to get used to in the Midwest.
That's my wife's joke. So you can send your hate mail to Suzanne Jones. She always says, well, April showers bring Mayflowers. And do you know what Mayflowers bring? Pilgrims.
I just got
it.
I get Mayflower.
Yeah.
I just got it.
Chris was just laughing along. Like, I get the joke.
He was like, I have no idea what Jones is talking about, but
I'll
make him feel good. Joey V is here today as well. No sports jersey today. You're sporting the hometown T-shirt.
I've already worked an entire shift today. Don't get me started. you know this Vic Porcelli guy?
Yeah.
Very demanding, very demanding, very needy.
I got up at 6:30 a.m. to help this guy do some liquor store broadcast at Save on Liquors Chesterfield. I don't know who drinks at 9 a.m., but they were raucous. They were rowdy. We had Kat Worthmore out there. I mean, the whole gang was going crazy.
I saw her.
How is the brand new ginormous Save on Liquor Store?
Too big.
Too big. Too much liquor.
It's too big. It's the biggest liquor store you've ever seen.
When we did the broadcast out there at the end of the show, we all did a toast of some fine liquor. Did Vic and Ken take a toast of some good stuff at noon?
They were good boys. The only thing that happened was Vic lost his mind when his coffee cup got to the bottom and it was empty. And then Ken just got up as quick as he could, went to the coffee that he brought from home, and then poured Vic a new glass. So Vic has him trained. I like that.
You've never done anything like that for us.
No, I do not do that. I'm not your sidekick.
Come on, I love the Red Bull there. You should have like a Red Bull waiting for me. Like, Chris, here you go.
I should.
Buddy.
I'm so sorry. But Becky tells me all the time, he's spending $5 a day on Red Bull. Could you just bring those in?
That's on a slow day, buddy.
Indeed. Hey, we've got a fantastic show for you here today. Congressman Bob Onder needed to call an audible on us, so we'll hopefully speak with him next week. We're going to try to bring in some additional congressional help today. I believe we're going to be having Senator Jim Talent do a little twofer for us today at 4:25. And then at 5:05, we're hoping to bring in Congressman Eric Burleson. And we're going to speak with both of those fine gentlemen about the biggest news stories of the day, which would be the economy. And there's a lot of news about the economy. Yes, everyone is fixated on the hysterical globalists on Wall Street selling everything they can possibly sell because, oh my God, we might have to do American manufacturing again. But also, Chris, there was a positive jobs report that is being overshadowed by the market plunge.
Yeah, 200 plus jobs were created the last quarter. That was what it was expected was 144,000. So it shows what I said yesterday is that this economy, the underlying economy, is still strong. The unemployment rate ticked up just a bit. That was because more people were seeking employment. So like we said yesterday, it's going to be a period of pain. The question is how long a period of pain are America is going to be able to stand. Today, the stock market was down 2,000 points. I think that's like 4,000 in the last 4 days. There are several countries, and I was kind of pat myself on the back. I'm kind of right. Some of these smaller companies, Vietnam and other trading countries, they have said that they want to make a deal. I said that yesterday. I think those countries will make a deal, but the larger countries are still holding out. China today put a 34% tariff on our goods. So the trade war is on, as they would say.
And hopefully everyone comes out of it better on the back side of it. The markets care. Wall Street cares about one thing: easy access to capital. They are pure capitalists there. They really don't.
And uncertainty.
They really don't. Yeah, they don't like uncertainty, and they want easy peasy money squeezy, right? And so they don't care. Look, yes, Wall Street is located in the United States of America, but Wall Street is now a global trading phenomenon, and they don't like barriers. They don't like uncertainty. They don't like things put in their way. And so the markets, they don't care whether or not we do manufacturing here or in China. Once we reset things, hopefully, and Donald Trump will have a limited period of time to hopefully figure this out. And as you pointed out, there's already been discussions and negotiations within 24 hours of this announcement. I think people just need to take a deep breath. Hopefully you're not retiring tomorrow, and you realize this is a great time to buy all those things and all those stocks that you've always wanted to.
You know, speaking of easy money, I found it funny today. I was watching MSNBC or CNN, one of the stations, and they were all having a conniption fit because the president tweeted out, or whatever you call it, you do on Truth Social, urging the Fed chairman Powell to cut interest rates and not be political. Presidents, Democrat, Republican, have done that for years, especially when the president is not doing well. They're going to urge the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates to spur the economy. I think it was very disingenuous of the media to try to say that Trump was being a dictator and encroaching in lanes that he should not be. All presidents should do that and have done that.
Indeed. All right, we've got confirmation of our schedule today, Chris. We're going to have Senator Jim Talent join us at 4:24. At 5:05, we will be joined by Congressman Eric Burleson. We will get a view of the tariff and reconciliation situation right from his perch in Washington, D.C. That'll be today's Speaker Stump Speech. Katie Reilly, Executive Director of the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform. I believe she is a new guest to the show. Where's our producer hiding? There he is. He's hiding behind his bank of monitors. Have we ever had her on before?
I don't believe so. It was someone that reached out to you and you said, bring her on. More friends, the merrier.
Okay. I don't remember.
We have our friend Corinne. She's out on her own now.
It was Corinne. Yeah. Okay. From Heritage. Okay. Foster care reform and more. Chris, at 4:45, Chris's Corner.
Yeah. We're going to talk about, I had it on my sheet, but it'll be interesting. Trust me.
It will
How
be
about
fascinating.
that? That'll be a great tease.
And today, Chris, I saw this just come across the wire. We do have the topics that Larry Connors of Larry Connors USA will discuss beginning at 6:05. Chris and I will review those and go over those at 5:45. And of course, being that it's going to be a really crappy weekend, at least for the first half of it, it looks like we might dry out by Sunday here in the Heartland. We'll have to ask producer Joey V, what in the world do you do, Joey, on a rainy, cold, chilly Saturday in April? Maybe watch some movies.
I just catch up on all my Larry Connors USA podcasts I forgot to listen to.
There you
I
go.
found a great tip from Larry today. He says this perfect way. He phrases it beautifully. He says something like, I had Elon Musk on my show today. And that just means he played a clip of Elon Musk. But he says it like in a way that you make you lean in. Like, what? He talked to Elon Musk? He says, nope, I just had him on my show. So we'll do that. Today, We've already had Trump on the show. It was incredible.
We already had Trump on the show.
Listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, that's why Larry's a living legend and a professional. He is indeed.
Yep.
All righty. It is 4:15 in the Heartland. We just gave you the rundown. That would be Jim Talent at 4:24, Chris's Corner at 4:45, Speaker Stump Speech 5:07 featuring Congressman Eric Burleson. And then Katie Reilly, she's from the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform. We're going to be discussing eliminating barriers to foster care. Chris, we always talk about, we as Republicans get accused of only caring about bringing the babies into the world, and then we don't care about them afterwards. Not true. And this will prove that point today. There's plenty of folks out there who are unable to have children themselves that are more than happy to welcome other people's children into their homes who otherwise are looking for a place to stay. Being a foster parent, engaging in the foster care system, I think is like one of the tantamount things of the Lord's work that you could do.
Yeah, and she would be a great back-to-back guest because we had Levi Hart on yesterday from his new organization, unfortunately, but you hear the
Reach Reproductive.
And so she'll
be
an interesting follow-up guest to that.
We got some love from our listeners for having Levi on. We appreciate you all paying attention, number one. And
I hope they donated.
Absolutely. We hope they did indeed. Hey, speaking of all of our listeners, you can follow us. You can listen to us. You can watch us every single day on a multitude of platforms. Of course, we've got the local terrestrial signals of 101.9 and 94.1. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You can watch us on Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. please at least establish an account on those platforms. Click the like button, share it with your friends, right? Just forward that on and make sure you have the app, whether you have recently downloaded it, whether your old app has updated. Please, activate that app every day. It really helps us with our streaming numbers. There is a time during your day. We know that you are not necessarily glued to a radio. Well, your phone is your radio, and you're probably always glued to that. So fire up that app. It is available and accessible through Apple CarPlay, through what do they call it on the Android store? Android Auto. So Android Auto, and carry us with you wherever you might go.
And we are on TikTok. I don't know if you guys are, but it sounds like Trump, he's delaying the execution. He's using the tariffs as a way to bargain with TikTok.
Yes. TikTok, the TikTok deal, which was supposed to be consummated by tomorrow with the deadline, the arbitrary deadline, has been extended another 2.5 months.
75 days. So I remember what Chris's corner, one of my topics is Georgia Democrats are on the wrong side of the culture war, and they are definitely demonstrating that. And I can't wait to speak to Jim Talent at 424. We didn't have him on Monday. He was in Napa Valley last week.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
We'll ask him about his trip to wine country, along with foreign policy and military news.
And he is a fella. I bet you he will give us a very stoic, measured response to what we're seeing in the markets. Because I'm not going to call Jim Talent old. I'm going to call him wise.
Mm-hmm.
And he has seen upturns and downturns. He's been a policymaker that has been engaged in these battles over the decades. And he's probably going to give us the long view. And I'll bet you reassure our audience that there is a little going to be a short-term pain we're all experiencing together. And hopefully he'll explain why there'll be long-term gain.
And one question I want to ask him about the little kerfuffle that happened in the House today, or this week. Speaker Johnson dismissed the House a little early. It's a discharge petition was filed by Paula Lena. She's a former House Freedom Caucus member. She left the caucus. She wants to have proxy voting for pregnant mothers and for pregnant mothers or mothers that have had birth babies, the fathers to have the same type of rights to that. Speaker Johnson is against that. He says that it's unconstitutional. He's afraid of the precedent that it will open up that, well, if someone has a terminal disease or is getting treatment for disease, will they be able to file proxy vote? And so she got 9 Democrats to come over and support this bill. I think it was 9 and some other Republicans as well, and got to 218 over to have this discharge petition. Kind of embarrassed the speaker, so he adjourned the House. There's supposed to be a deal that's being worked out between them two that there will be some type of compromise. We won't know. But I want to ask Senator Talent, who was in the Senate, what's his thought on proxy voting? Should it be given for expectant mothers and other people?
Or other people, or what problems come along with that, right? Because we want to make sure that those votes cast by our representatives are safeguarded, right?
Exactly.
That there's guardrails around those. Call to action. Got a little, so we've been talking a lot about Amendment 3, repeal and replace. Next week on the House floor in Jefferson City, we are expected to finally see the Amendment 3 repeal and replace bill. It's got a couple different factions and a couple different forms to it. I'm going to give a call to action as to one that I think is the best, pursuant to what I'm hearing from the folks who have been carrying the water on this throughout. So it's supposed to hit the House floor in Jefferson City next week. 6 weeks. We were just up there.
Yeah.
We were just up there broadcasting the second week of January. And there's only 6 weeks left in the Missouri legislative session.
Time flies. And I thought Missouri had a relatively short legislative session. I was in Arkansas this week. Their session is January to April, like 15th or something, like, or April 6th, something like, or well, it's that now. I think they've got another week and a half, and they're done.
They're almost done.
Yeah, that's crazy. April.
Florida has a 60-day session every year.
Really? Wow.
For a state that large. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to be a little more efficient here in Missouri.
Well, they do elections well, because you always know who won in Florida early.
You sure.
No problems.
You sure do indeed. All right, 421 in the PM. We're going to speak, because we did not speak with him earlier in the week, and we ended up with a need. We needed a need for speed today, and a guest So we've got the great Senator Jim Talent coming up next. It's 422 here in the Heartland. Stay dry, be safe, take your time, and be weather aware throughout the evening and tomorrow. Chris and I and Joey V will be right back. Senator Jim Talent next on the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
I like beer. I still like beer.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers, mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high, 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is sending out an SOS. We're expanding fast and need your help. We need a flooring warehouse expert pronto. We need a flooring scheduler just as fast. Join our growing team at Michael's Flooring Outlet with locations in St. Peters, Darden Prairie, and Creve Coeur. Don't wait. Visit michaelsflooringoutlet.com and click on careers today. Michael's Flooring Outlet, where great floors begin with great people.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA. So we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't hate, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I'll keep your eyes on the road, you hands upon the wheel.
And that referendum in Wisconsin, then you should have brought the SAVE Act, which is a voter suppression bill. that we strongly oppose to the floor this week. You could have done it. Could have done it today. You could do it tomorrow. We dare you to bring the SAVE Act to the floor. We'll have that discussion. That's voter suppression.
427 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Hakeem Jeffries is speaking on the executive order that Donald Trump signed this week, stating that only citizens can vote in our elections. It's very ironic. Yesterday, this week, I was in Arkansas, Little Rock, testifying before a committee to have that put on the ballot for Arkansas's voters to vote affirmative in that. It was voted out of the committee. So, and our next guest, he was out of town as well. We'll talk to him about that. Let's go ahead and get to the senator.
Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, welcome to the show. This week, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas. You were out somewhere else, weren't you, sir? Having vacation?
I was in Northern California, Napa Valley. My wife enjoys wine and has been wanting to go there for some time. And I want my wife to be happy.
Wonderful.
So I agreed to go. By the way, I have to tell you, I never realized until listening to that clip how much Hakeem Jeffries sounds like a good friend of mine. He's actually a mutual friend of yours and mine, Chris, but I'm not going to mention his name.
Okay, now I'm curious.
I heard the clip and I thought, what's Ken doing on the radio?
I hear you. Senator, I want to talk about what's happening in the Congress right now regarding the proxy voting situation. Speaker Johnson ended the session early this week because there was an impasse there. You're an institutionalist. You served in the House and in the Senate. What is your thoughts on proxy voting?
Just the one about whether young parents should be able to vote by proxy.
Correct.
Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on that as someone who served in that body?
Yeah, Tim, I'm sure, has an opinion on this also. I think it's a really important principle, an almost cardinal principle, that you should not be able to vote unless you're in the chamber to vote. Now, proxy voting for committee sessions is different. They had that when I went into the Congress, when the Republicans took over. We got rid of it. I mean, there are arguments on both sides there. But there's not only a danger that you could have some kind of fraud involved, but the possibility that members will give their voting card or the code or whatever it is you would use to somebody else and just have them vote. I mean, this is not a path that we want to go down. Now, I understand there are all kinds of reasons why people might have legitimate, personal issues where they can't get to the chamber. And in that instance, the speaker ought to try to accommodate them, where there's a legitimate issue. But I don't like I never have. There's nothing to do with this particular controversy. I think you need to be in the chamber to vote. We don't, the kinds of things that will emerge if we relax that rule are not good. They did it during the pandemic. Well, the pandemic's over. You got to be there to vote.
Yeah, because Senator, we don't want a remote legislature, right? No. I mean, because there's a lot of good reasons that people could provide to not be in the chamber, but this is public service for a reason, right? There comes a commitment with it, and there comes a lot of selfless sacrifice with it, and there's like I said, a lot of awesome reasons people could have, but I view it as a slippery slope as well.
Yeah. And, people want the members of these legislative bodies to be able to work together, and they've got to be together to be able to work together. I mean,
that's a good point.
How much business gets done on the House floor. I mean, I used to have a list in both the Missouri House and in the Congress and in the Senate. There's a list of colleagues that I wanted to see on particular issues, and I'd look them up during the vote because they had to be there. I mean, you knew you could see them there. So no, this is not a path we want to go down. And the way to handle this is for everybody to be mature about it and to try and arrange votes at a time when you don't have a whole lot of people out. Now, of course, it's impossible. you've got all these members, it's impossible to accommodate everybody. But that's a cardinal rule, I think, of effective and honest legislating.
Speaking with former Senator Jim Talent, chairman of the National Leadership Council, Ronald Reagan Institute. Senator, how big a deal is it that Iran has announced that they are pulling their troops out of Yemen and yanking support somewhat for the Houthis?
Yeah, they're scared. They are, because the president has said, and finally somebody has said, we're going to hold you responsible for your puppets, your proxies.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy is the enemy is the Houthis, and we're degrading the last really remaining intact Iranian proxy. But the president's also made clear, look, you guys are pulling the strings, and we're going to take this right to the head of the snake. If you don't, and in this particular case, he's targeting the nuclear infrastructure. And fellas, I'm glad for it. We are headed towards the possibility of a major combat operation. We would do it with the Israelis against the Iranian homeland. And the president is very reluctant to commit American forces in those kinds of operations. I mean, that's the most reluctant of any president in my time in Washington. But it's also true that the single worst thing that could happen in the Middle East is for the Iranians to get a nuclear weapon. We would then have a multipolar nuclear Middle East. The Saudis would follow. They can probably buy one from Pakistan. And the possibility of a nuclear exchange goes way up. It would be like North Korea on steroids. And that's just unthinkable. So, and I think the president realizes that. So anyway, they're scared, and so they're withdrawing the troops as if to say, oh, we don't have anything to do with the Houthis. Well, everybody knows better.
Mm-hmm. Senator, in addition to being legislative and international matters expert here, we're going to have you play economist too a little bit, because it's all kind of intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Senator, no, I haven't heard a single person, including Donald Trump, saying that tariffs are his favorite thing in the world and we're going to have them forever and as much as possible to the end of time. I think everybody understands they may not agree with him utilizing him in this way, but he's using him as a tool. Short term, yes, huge negative downside politically and economically. Senator, is there a public policy position that's being pursued here that would be possibly good long term for the United States of America economically and politically?
Oh, sure. Look, certainly the market is spooked. I mean, there's a negative, at least in the short term for the market, which is not a good thing. I'm not looking at my portfolio, for a while. The jobs numbers were very good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, there's upsides for the economy as well, as you're going to see domestic production begin to spike. Here's what I would say, Tim. I think most everybody agrees that our trade policies, particularly as regards China, but generally speaking, have hurt manufacturing for a long time. And as a result, the industrial base is atrophied to a level that is very dangerous for a lot of reasons. And national security is part of it. Also part of it is the quality of life for Americans, because people who have lost their manufacturing jobs, generally speaking, they move to jobs that are much less remunerative, and it's hurt communities. So, and I believe that. And I think a balanced trade policy is part of restoring the industrial base. And I also think reciprocity is a good goal to seek, although I think it may be a little too simplistic. My concern about this is I would have liked to see it more methodical. I've been saying that for a couple of months. And I would like to see us make clear to other countries what we want them to do in response. What end are we seeking with this, with a reasonable degree of granularity? Now, I know why the president isn't, because he wants to get them to make offers. This is classic Trump negotiations. But I do think the anxieties about the future, which is driving a lot of this, would be less if we had been clearer or more specific about our goals. So I guess I agree with you. I mean, I like the direction this is headed. I think it was necessary and inevitable. It's not the only thing they're doing, by the way, to increase manufacturing in the United States. The whole energy policy is largely directed at that. And so are their pro-investment policies, doing a number of things to attract investment from outside the United States. All that's very good. But yeah, this is being done in a big way, and it's being done quickly, which is classic Trump. And I think there are some downsides to that, but we have to see, what'll happen at the end. And after Congress passes its the reconciliation bill, God willing, I think we'll probably see them weigh in on this as well, and that would be good. I mean, I think some legislative input on this would be really good.
Senator, according to military.com, the Army is considering cutting 90,000 active duty troops. Is that because we're going to more mechanized and drone warfare for the future?
Yeah. First of all, I viscerally hate that, but I also understand it. And there has been and is now no bigger defense hawk, and I mean this literally, in Washington than me. I also realize, given the point that the debt deficit and the debt have reached, that we can't do what I always wanted to do, which is to spend more than we thought we would need to make certain we had what we needed. And we also, I think, have to size and shape the force with the likely threats in mind. In other words, we're going to move, I think, to being less of a continental power and more of a naval power, because Indo-PACOM is an air and maritime domain. I think that makes sense. I think Hexit needs to be very careful about how this is done, because if you cut too much and then you have to build up again, it's going to cost a lot more than if you'd never cut in the first place. Just take my word for that. And we've already been through that once, because we cut a lot in the 90s, and then remember, with the surge, we had to build up in the aughts, and we ended up losing money on the deal. So I get it. I understand where they're coming from, but I want to be very careful.
Senator Jim Talent, our special guest here on a Friday afternoon. Senator, have you been a little surprised, like I think several of us are, about the almost over-the-top defense that the national legacy media and many Democratic leaders are still exhibiting towards illegal alien gang members, right? I mean, they're quibbling over what country they should be sent back to. Look, we don't want to be mean or inhumane to anyone, but it harkens back to that comment that I think it was Margaret Brennan or Martha Raddatz made a few months ago. Well, it's only a few Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang members terrorizing the neighborhoods around Denver. They're kind of like doubling down on that attitude, and I think most Americans have made their opinions known on whether or not they want illegal alien gang members in this country or not.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to resist the conclusion that for these members of the press saying this, it's because they don't have to live next door to these people, or they're not in neighborhoods where they expect these people are going to be. I mean, I can almost guarantee you their reaction would be different if they were living in that apartment complex that these gangs took over, and it's not the only place where they're operating. We have a responsibility to protect the people of the United States from known threats. And this is one of them. And it's more than just even organized crime, because there is evidence that the Venezuelan government is involved in sending these people here for nefarious national security from a Venezuelan point of view, to serve the objectives of the state. The Trump administration has evidence. I mean, their claim that this is a foreign quasi-military operation is at minimum colorable, Tim. Now and I think that makes all the difference in terms of whether the courts should get involved in it, because once you can show the court that this is not a frivolous claim, then I think it defaults to the discretion of the president to decide whether this justifies this kind of response. In other words, if somebody were invading us, or they were dropping troops over our southern border, and we captured them, we would not have to give them a hearing before we sent them back. We could just shoot them, as a matter of fact. So Now, having said that, my understanding is the Trump administration has said, look, we will give these people an opportunity to show they're not a member of the gang, which is, I think, very appropriate. So I could not agree more. And I absolutely, we always think about it, or we often tend to think about it in political terms. I'm an old politician, but this is a life and death thing for many people. And we have an absolute responsibility to get rid of these people. And I how they could argue otherwise. I mean, I understand, and I appreciate the administration gives people an opportunity to say, well, look, you've just made a mistake. Okay. Yeah. They need an opportunity to show that, but then we need to get these people out of the country.
Final question for you, Senator. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said he wants to build a new warfighting command in Japan with the goal of deterring China. Tell us more about what that would entail, do you think?
Well, it would be a more local warfighting command because Indo-PACOM headquarters in Honolulu. And it's also, I think it's a couple things. It's a way of signaling to the Japanese that our alliance with them is firm. I welcome it on that basis because the president said something a month or so ago about the Japanese picking up more of the burden. And I agree with that. And the Japanese do too. I mean, they have been moving about as fast as they can to increase their defenses. And remember, there are constitutional limits in the Japanese constitution on how big an army, how big a military establishment they can have. And we shouldn't complain about that because we insisted on it, in 1953. We did not want the Japanese developing at that time, a major outgoing expeditionary military establishment. But that is they're changing the constitutional provisions. They are rearming. They want us there. This is the focus of the administration. And I think so there's a diplomatic aspect to this as well as a warfighting aspect.
And that is former Senator Jim Talent, chairman of the National Leadership Council, Ronald Reagan Institute. Senator, thank you for filling in on such short notice.
Glad to do it, fellas. Sorry I missed you on Monday.
And guess what? We'll talk to you Monday.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. All right, 444, Chris's Corner. We'll talk about the Georgia Democrats. Don't seem to be getting the message when it comes to the culture war. We'll have that and more. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I'll keep your eyes on the road, you hands upon the wheel.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, we're going to the roadhouse, gonna have a good time.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers, mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high, 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
When it comes to Trump's tariffs, there are the naysayers and those who agree with him. Where exactly are you?
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
You guys know I just don't endorse anyone. I believe in real value, not gimmicks. That's why when my wife and I needed a new hot water heater at the beginning of the year, we called my good friend over at Elite Comfort Experts. They came over, they delivered top-notch service, honest pricing, and expert installation. They were in and out before we knew it. At Elite Comfort Experts, what you see is what you get. No fake discounts, no tricks, just guarantees you can count on. And right now, and this offer is almost over, they're teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning for an incredible offer. A 99-year compressor and heat exchanger warranty, plus a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a new high-efficiency HVAC system, and they're covering the extended warranty out of their own profits. But this deal won't last forever. Systems must be installed before April 15th, 2025 to qualify. Don't settle for gimmicks. Choose integrity, choose quality, choose Elite Comfort Experts. Give them a call today at 636-887-0971 or visit EliteComfortExperts.com. And don't forget to mention promo code NewsTalkSTL.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
Experience history as it comes alive at the Champ Clark Memorial VFW Post 5553 History Day, April 12th in Bowling Green. Presenters and reenactors will transport you through America's war eras. For more info, call 573-470-9066.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
This Sunday on Jeffco Patriot Radio, Billy Crow and I will be talking about a whole host of things, primarily Election Day, which is this Tuesday. We'll be featuring mayoral candidate Steve Marcus for the city of Pevely, and we'll also be breaking down Senate District 22, 6 names and counting.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
On News Talk STL. Are you listening?
Basement with a Y. That's Basement E.
It's Basement T.
Basement E?
It's Basement T.
Oh, Basement T. Basement T. I get it. That's the basement waterproofing and foundation repair experts at Woods Basement Systems.
Right. The All Things Basement Tea experts at Woods Basement Systems will provide you a free estimate and dry out that wet basement and fix that cracked foundation. Call 800-388-9326 or go online to woodsbasementsystems.com.
That's woodsbasementsystems.com.
Get ready for a night of fun to benefit our heroes at the Heroes Care Mouse Races, Friday, May 16. Doors open at 6:30 with races kicking off at 7. The night includes raffles, door prizes, a silent auction, and thrilling 50-50 drawing. Support our military heroes. We'll have you an absolute blast. Heroes Care is dedicated to supporting military members and their families. And now you can be part of their mission. Tickets and info by calling 636-600-0096 or visit heroescare.org.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Goes to my head, makes me forget that
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me for being too tough in that tire case. Said this wouldn't be good for American workers and that it would be protectionist. But I tell you, those workers don't feel that way. They feel as if they had finally an administration who was going to take this issue seriously.
450 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and that is a flashback, Tim, back to 2012. Apparently, that was the debate between President Obama and Mitch Romney there. The president is bragging about the tariffs that he imposed on Chinese tires. They seem to be singing a different tune nowadays.
They do, and I love, there's some presidents that are really fun to imitate. George W. Bush was one of them. Trump, of course, is one of them, and Barack Obama. He's a hard guy to imitate, but I've heard a couple people do it really well. They do the whole, I'm Barack Obama, that kind of like very staccato presence. And I think that people the guys who get imitated the most are also some of the most effective presidents, right? Because they've got personality and people gravitated for them. They've got that gravitas, so to speak.
Joy, I hate to put you on the spot, but you did a pretty good Barack Obama coming in from the break. Would you like to share that with the audience right quick?
They call this in the impression game the hook. So what you do to get into
what
the
is it?
impression.
I didn't know it was such a talent.
So I just go with the look. part of
Okay,
it. So
okay.
you just go, oh, look, this is Barack Obama. And you're
That's
in.
pretty good.
So
That
just
is
start
pretty
with the look.
It's the look first.
There you go.
Look.
Okay. I remember that.
Bernie Sanders. Yeah, I don't know. If you say
But-
the name of the person, that helps. The
That-
1% of the 2%.
I was going to say that wasn't very good, but that second part is you do a pretty good impression there.
Vic
Joy.
does an excellent Bernie Sanders.
Yes. You got to talk like you've got like a bunch of rocks in your cheeks when you speak. All right, Joy,
Okay.
let's go ahead and do the coroner.
Chris's Corner is brought to you by Elite Comfort Experts. Call 636-887-0971 or elitecomfortexperts.com.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
You know, a lot of people say it was three things that doomed the Democrats in the 2024 election. It was the border, the economy, and the culture wars. They were demolished in the culture wars. People didn't want to see 12-year-olds getting transgender surgeries. Taxpayers didn't want to pay for transgender surgeries for military members or for those that are in prison. It was a losing issue for them, and Democrats know they need to moderate their views, so that's why you hear all the talk about them tacking to the center. Well, Georgia State House Democrats didn't seem to get that message. They staged a walkout to protest a vote on a bill that's headed to the governor's desk for his signature prohibiting taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries for inmates. The bill passed on a 100-2 vote, and both recorded no votes were from Democrats. The legislation SB 185, sponsored by Republican State Senator Randy Robertson, bars the Georgia Department of Corrections from providing taxpayer-funded transgender medical treatments, including surgeries and hormonal treatment to prison inmates. Robertson contends that there are about 5 inmates incarcerated in the DLC that receive treatments. And how many stories have we heard of a transgender female inmate being placed in the female prison? And you hear stories of female prisoners being raped, and somehow 9 months later, female prisoners are becoming pregnant. I just talked about a story on Chris's Corner a few weeks back about a prisoner that was suing to be able to stay in the female prison, even though they had been accused of assault. Talk about crazy. We know the reconciliation bill, very, very important. Trump needs to have that passed to have his agenda go forward and to make sure that we don't have a massive tax cut. Well, the Senate is bracing for a vote-a-rama tonight. They are looking to have their budget plan adopted over the weekend. So that is good news to hear, especially with all the economic turmoil that is happening right here. It's good to know that the Senate is doing their job to make sure that the reconciliation package moves forward. And as I said, we don't have a huge protest. I hope there's good weather in Washington, D.C. this weekend. I hope it's not rainy like it's here and was in Little Rock, because on the National Mall tomorrow, there will be a national quote unquote hands-off protest. Touchdowning on the National Mall, as I said, 20,000 participants are protesting the Trump administration. This is expected to be the country's largest single-day protest since Trump took office. 20,000 people. They're bragging about that.
Resist.
So that's a big deal. And here's something that may not have noticed. The mainstream media, well, they actually did cover. This is from the New York Times. The State Department last week released a 2016 letter that Hunter Biden wrote while his father was serving as vice president, in which he sought assistance from the U.S. government for the Ukrainian energy company Burisma. That's from New York Times reporter Kenneth Vogel. He goes on to say the letter requested help arranging a meeting between Burisma officials and Enrico Rossi, the president of the Tuscany regional government at the time, to, quote, introduce geothermal projects. The projects fizzled before drilling began in Tuscany, according to a person involved in the effort. But how many times did we hear over and over and over from President Biden that I have nothing to do with my son's business? I don't even know what he does. We don't talk about business when he's in the Oval Office or I'm with them. We're talking about the kids, the grandkids. I don't discuss business with my son. Well, we already knew from other testimony that is untrue. Here is just further proof. And if I was a Biden's, I'd be a little scared when the New York Times writes something like this and expose you. It kind of shows that we don't really need you anymore, Joe. You weren't the president we needed you to be. Your sorry presidency was responsible for why Kamala Harris didn't win. So he's expendable right now. And if I was part of the Biden family, I'd be watching my back for stories coming out from the mainstream media on Hunter Biden's nefarious business deals. And that is Chris's Corner. We've got at 5:05 a special guest for the Speaker's Done speech, Tim.
Congressman Eric Burleson will be joining us. And Chris, you're right about the Bidens. All this news that keeps coming out about him post-presidency, none of it's been positive.
Exactly. And we're going to have a new guest, Katie Reilly, Executive Director of the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform. We'll talk to her about SB 1696 to eliminate barriers for foster care providers. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Columbo here from my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Get ready for the big St. Louis Gun Show, coming to the STL Athletic Center in Fenton, April 11th, 12th, and 13th. This air-conditioned event features 500 tables packed with pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. Join us Friday 4 to 8, Saturday 9 to 5, and Sunday 9 to 3. Admission is just $14 and is good for the entire weekend. Kids 12 and under get in free, and veterans and first responders receive a $2 discount. Mention Aaron sent you for $2 off. The big St. Louis Gun Show, April 11th, 12th, and 13th. More info at bkpromotions.us.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery at all 3 Steph's Pizza locations. In Lake St. Louis at 111 Potterford Trail, St. Peter's on Juggerman, and in St. Charles on Zumbel. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting in Washington. President Trump is preaching patience as the stock market plummets on news of his across-the-board tariffs. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
With the global economy reeling from the tariffs, the president is insisting his trade policies will never change. He wrote online that this is a great time to get rich, telling Americans to hang tough. Meanwhile, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said the tariffs were significantly larger than expected and are highly likely to cause more inflation. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Trump says he's extending a lifeline to keep TikTok operating in the U.S. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
In a post to Truth Social, the president says he's signing an executive order to keep the social site and running, give his administration more time to broker a deal.
We're very close to a deal with a very good group of people.
With reporters on Air Force One Thursday, the president hinted that tariffs might be a useful tool to renegotiate terms with China.
China maybe will call and say, well, we're upset with the tariffs, and maybe they want to get something a little bit in order to get TikTok approved, who knows?
Congress had mandated the platform be divested from China or be barred in the U.S. on national security grounds. ByteDance owns TikTok and its algorithms and insists the platform is not for sale. I'm Jennifer King.
Parts of the Midwest and South are facing the possibility of torrential rains and life-threatening flash floods. The fresh storms on Friday come as many communities are still reeling from severe tornadoes that destroyed whole neighborhoods and killed at least 7 people. Kentucky's governor said floodwaters swept away and killed a boy Friday in his state. Forecasters warned of catastrophic weather on the way. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 2,231 points. More at townhall.com.
The big media are out to stop President Trump at any cost. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, they're all the same. President Trump doesn't trust the big media, even Fox News. Now, millions of Americans are turning to Newsmax. Nielsen reports almost 30 million Americans tuned into Newsmax last quarter. And President Trump is one. He watches Newsmax and says it's terrific. So tune in tonight to watch Rob Finnerty's series, The Big Media's War on Trump. Every night, Rob Finnerty is exposing their big lies and gives you the straight talk you want. Find Newsmax on all major cable systems, or download the free Newsmax app on your phone or home TV now. Millions have made the switch to Newsmax. You should too.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers, mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high, 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
But in the interim, this takes long. Unraveling globalization takes a long time. This isn't just an overnight fix. And then the interim, prices will go up. You even hear from the president himself, there will be short-term pain. We're going to see in the next few days likely prices going up at the grocery store. What do you say to those Americans who put Donald Trump in office to lower prices, not raise them?
So energy prices down, interest rates down,
Right,
your
the
mortgage
prices at the
costs,
grocery
costs down, right? These things are energy. The price at the gas pump lower, oil down 6-7%. Why aren't you talking about the fact that oil in the gas pump is going to come smashing down?
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Yeah, tariffs. Are they terrific or are they terrible for the economy? We're going to speak to a Congressman Eric Burleson from Southwest Missouri. We're going to talk to him about that and a lot more in just a moment. Welcome back to the program. We got Joey V, we got Chris Arps, we got me. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. I don't know how much that argument is going to play when people look at their retirement accounts and they're seeing them down 10, 15%. And you're talking about, oil and these prices are down. People are looking at, their immediate, savings and everything. So I would kind of change up on that answer if I was Mr. Ludnick.
Well, I think he's pointing out that all the problems we had under the Biden administration are reversing, right? I mean, gas is down dramatically. Food prices are going down. Egg prices are going down. This is a different problem that's now being caused because of tariffs. But all the things that we complained about during the Biden administration are absolutely in a different form right now.
The price of eggs doesn't give me the same heartburn as the dropping in my 401k.
But if I could tell you that your 401k is going to be higher than it was before the tariffs were instituted, you probably would take that fact.
Yeah, I have not bailed on the president. I, like any American that has money in the stock market and is looking at the future, I'm concerned when the stock market's down 2,000 points, 5%. But the president is remaking the trading global system. And I think we at least owe him the benefit of the doubt to see if the programs do work. I'm not going to bail and panic after 3 days, even though my 401 is tanking. But I think it's fair. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Let's see what they're saying knee deep in the swamp. Let's bring in Congressman Eric Burleson from the 7th Congressional District. He is at Eric Burleson on Twitter X, and you can find him a million other places as well. Congressman, welcome back to the program. Great to have you on with us today, Eric.
Anything for you guys.
Thank you indeed. All right, Eric, let's of course tackle the big kahuna right out of the gate here. Eric, as we see the globalists on Wall Street completely freaked out by a change in policy, will this, though, Eric, be good long term? And I should remind folks, I should let our audience know, in addition to being a congressman, Eric, you do have not only a financial but also an IT background as well. You're a really smart guy. You've been analyzing these issues long before you went to Washington, D.C. What say you about this major change in trade policy from the United States of America?
I think that this is a major change. This is probably, this is a 100-year chain pivot in strategy and direction for the economy of the United States. For over 100 years, we've been a nation that has been moving manufacturing and production out and on, into other countries. We've been buying products from other countries more than we sell. And I think that we were seeing the results of that. I think I talked before whenever I went to London and went to the art conference. It was kind of some sobering information to learn that historically this is not something that's unique to what's going on in the United States. That other countries went through this, and the end result is you lose the world reserve currency, and then you become stagnant economically, and you go through a lost period of decades. And so I don't think that we want to end up in that situation. I don't think we want to give up the world reserve currency and be the superpower in the world. This is a pivotal moment for the United States. And look, yeah, the stock market may be down. It's had much worse days than the last week, to put this in perspective. And I say, just as a reminder, Benjamin Graham, the famous value investor, said that, that basically the short-term market is a voting machine, but at the end of the long term, the market is a weighing machine. And so while things might be down right now, I think that we're seeing the shock. We're seeing people kind of respond and a little bit of hysteria. A lot of people, when these are the moments that I would encourage people, I'm not your investment advisor, but I would encourage you to go back to the basics, value businesses. And there's times like this where you'll find that there's some good deals out there in the stock market.
Congressman, there were, of course, elections in Florida. 2 Republicans will be joining you in the Congress. Stefanik, she will remain. She will not be the UN ambassador. So this gives a little more cushion to the speaker. Do you feel a little better about the margin there?
I do. I think it gives us a little bit of margin. There was, given how tight it was, if somebody got sick, that could change everything. So it does give us a little bit of comfort and a little bit of margin. So I think that, but we'll see how long that lasts, because I have seen people there's all kinds of reasons people end up, when you got 220 some people, things happen.
Eric, we're hearing that the Senate is going to be engaging in a bit of a vote-a-palooza tonight, maybe even a little bit over the weekend, moving forward the reconciliation bill, right, Eric? This is part of this. It's not just all tariffs all the time. We got to talk about the Tax Cut and Jobs Act and all the other important components of the reconciliation package. What can you tell us from the inside as to what the prospects are for getting that one big, beautiful bill further down the road?
The Senate has been kind of, I think that what they're doing is dangerous, because they are posturing in a very, very, look, Donald Trump is asking for his tax cuts to be made permanent and to add on top of that more tax cuts. The only way that you come up with that is if you can find other places to save money. And when they are sending instructions that amount to, it's in maybe $10 billion over a 10-year period, that's absolutely embarrassing. So the House, we sent instructions for something that's closer to $2 trillion over a 10-year period. So they're at a place where we're almost 100 times more in cuts or savings than the Senate. And that's what that suggests is, and while I've talked with some senators and they say, oh, this just gives us flexibility. We have got a very narrow path here that we have to walk. And I've heard all that. And I think that the problem is that's the same rhetoric that they gave us in 2017. And the end result was that Republicans passed a big tax cut bill without spending cuts. And the end result was that the debt grew. And I think there's a lot of members of the House and the Senate that are not going to accept that.
Congressman, your colleague, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, was single-handedly responsible for the House adjourning early this week. Speaker Johnson adjourned after she got enough votes for a discharge petition for her proxy voting bill. We've heard reports that she and the Speaker have spoken on this. We also hear the Representative Chip Roy, Andrew Clyde, and Ralph Norman are threatening to block any bills from coming to the floor unless the Speaker finds a way to cancel Luna's discharge petition. How do you see this playing out ultimately?
I don't know how it's going to play. I think it's pretty ridiculous, honestly. This is on both sides. I think I want to do things like reconciliation and cut taxes and right-sized government. There's so much on the table right now. We've got a rare moment here, and I think it's being absolutely wasted. Because look, I don't think anybody but Anna Paulina Luna cares about, and a handful of people care about this policy, and yet and that's why I'm kind of getting a little bit. The more I think about it, the more I get frustrated about this. But I like Anna; she's a great person. She's a good friend. but I really think that this is not the right time to have this kind of debate.
Speaking to Congressman Eric Burleson from Missouri's 7th Congressional, Eric, I saw you helped pen a pretty notable op-ed this week that appeared in foxnews.com, along with two of your colleagues, Representative Chip Roy and Andy Harris. That's a nice freedom and liberty trio right there. We are members of the House Freedom Caucus. The U.S. must choose either $20 trillion in debt or Medicaid reform. Eric, tell us what the primary components of your argument is there.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing what happened under Joe Biden during COVID. He issued about 13 executive orders, all really eliminating a lot of the checks and balances within Medicaid. And as a result, Medicaid spending went from about $400 billion a year annually to closer to $7 billion. And now it's on pace to be $1 trillion a year annually. So, Tim, you knew this topic very well. Medicaid is this, just growing monstrosity alone, right? I mean, it's something that the state, it strangles the state financial budget just to keep up with it. And what Joe Biden did not only really put a lot of challenge on the federal level, it puts a lot of challenge on the state level to come up with the matching funds for this, and all for a population of people that I think that, given this dynamic shift, I mean, just respectfully need to get out of the nest and start working.
That's right.
So these are able-bodied, young, working-age adults. People that are not going to college. If you're going to school and you qualify for Medicaid, you qualify for Medicaid. If you're trying to get a job and you financially qualify for Medicaid, you qualify for Medicaid. But if you're not going to school or trying to get a job, and there's nothing wrong with you, you're able-bodied, you're not disabled, then it's time for you to go out into the workforce, get a job, and demonstrate, or at least demonstrate you're trying. And so those kind of just common sense, guardrails were in place up until COVID. And by removing that, we have totally blown the budget. And I think that we just have to return to sanity. And I think it's easy to just say, when people say, oh, you want to cut Medicaid? No, I want to return to the way things were before COVID, before things went crazy. That's a very reasonable ask.
Congressman, after the debt ceiling bill was passed into law, the Senate passed an additional $1 billion to restore funding to Washington, D.C. The speaker said he's not going to take up the bill. He hasn't. President Trump has tweeted out that he wants that $1 billion restored back to D.C. Where do you see this ultimately happening?
I think that, look, D.C. is a liberal bastion. I mean, they're a leftist, crazy, woke city run by woke leaders, and they have defunded their police. They've done a lot of things that leftist cities have done. And in this scenario, I don't know that letting them spend another $1 billion, knowing how they spend their money and waste their money, is a good thing. I would put conditions on it, that the money has to go towards, I don't know, law enforcement.
Congressman, was that Nate Lucas sneezing in the background there? It sounded like him.
No, that was my wife.
Oh, okay.
Eric, before we let you go, I thought we could highlight a couple of your legislative efforts, which I know are extremely popular here in the heartland. Every time I look around, Eric, you're like you're trying to eradicate something or remove something from the federal government, which is wonderful. But I also saw a topic that we used to talk about on the state level. I love the fact you have filed a federal version of the Paycheck Protection Act, and it is advancing through the Oversight Committee on which you sit. Eric, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, thanks, Tim. Thanks for noticing that. And to get that out of a committee, that was a pretty big hurdle, especially in Congress. But basically, especially when it comes to government workers, I personally do not think that government employees should be able to even unionize. I just don't think I think that they already are unionized because they are voters, and they get to vote for the people that determine their budgets. So I don't think that they need to have another organized collective, because when they organize and they bargain, they're bargaining against the taxpayers. And that's why FDR and even I think JFK, most Democrats up until the modern era did not adamantly opposed public unions. And so but they do exist. And if they're going to exist, at the very minimum, we should not be doing their work for them. We should not be collecting their dues for them. And that's what the federal government does. We collect union dues on behalf of the unions, so the unions don't have to do this work. And oftentimes it's like the switch is turned on when the employee comes in without even asking the question, do you want this money taken out of your paycheck? And the whole thing is designed so that the employee doesn't even think about it. They don't pay attention to it. It's just auto coming out of their bank account. But I'll tell you, there's a different kind of mentality when you have to actually write the check. And so I think that it makes unions more accountable to their workers. It makes the workers think about whether or not the union is providing a value or not. And so I don't think that it's the government's role to do the managerial work for these unions.
Indeed. That is Congressman Eric Burleson. He's at Rep. Eric Burleson and also at Eric Burleson on Twitter X. Eric, thanks so much for stepping in today. We really appreciate you joining us, and continued best wishes for all your battles up in the DC swamp.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. As I said, anything for Chris and Tim.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric. We
Doing good
appreciate
work.
you very much. Yeah, fantastic. We got a great congressional delegation, and how cool that they're willing to step in almost at a moment's notice.
We do. We have a lot of congressmen on this show. Onder and former Senator Talon. We have Burleson on, Offison. I'm missing somebody. Who else do we have on?
We've had Senator Schmidt on from time to time. He's joined us. Jason Smith has been with us from time to time, and Wagner has joined us. Mark Alford is a friend of the show, even though he's on the other side of the state.
And I think there's some guy named Hawley. I think he's a senator.
There's a Hawley guy out there. We'll have to get a hold of him. Yeah, maybe we can send him up a flare, Joey, or something. You know,
the Coldwater Creek is overflowing, and we got to get him in here to fix it.
I think you go to his website. It's a silhouette picture.
There you go. Well, he should be interested in that. Oh, and by the way, that was today's special Speaker Stump Speech edition, brought to you by Hanson's Tree Service. We want to thank Chad Hanson and the gang at Hanson's Tree Service. And even though it is raining today, I'm only going to mention this for 2 more weeks, today and next week. The Sacred Heart Fish Fry is going. Chris, I got to go home, put my galoshes on, and go up and help them clean the fryers out tonight.
There you go.
I hope there's a break in the rain, because it's going to be a mess. But it is nice and warm and toasty inside at Sacred Heart in Eureka. We'd love to have you up there for some cod and all the fixins. All right. Katie Reilly is going to join us, a new friend of the show. She's the executive director of the Illinois Coalition on Legal Reform. What can we do to help and support foster care reform? A couple bills pending, I believe, here in the, I think in the Missouri legislature, it looks like, and it's a big issue all across the country and in even in our sister state of Illinois. Chris and I will be back to talk to Katie next here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do? Put it up to 11, exactly.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers, mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Hey everybody, it's your buddy Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show, along with my buddy Joey V. And remember, we're not on just Saturdays at 5, now we're on Sundays at 2.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
Well, the weekend is about here. And for all of you hardworking business folks and people that are working for a living in general, I know what you're going to do now over the weekend. You're going to try to be a weekend warrior and catch up on all the things around your home, probably engage maybe in some sporting activities. This weekend, you may be rowing your boat. Maybe you're going to get a canoe out this weekend. You're going to be engaging, I know, in a lot of physical activity. You're going to be sore come Monday morning. Why don't you make an appointment right now at Comprehensive Chiropractic? You can check them out online at cchiropractic.com, 636-938-9310, cchiropractic.com, the premier chiropractic sports performance facility in the region. I have been a personal patient for them for nearly 2 decades, long before I started discussing them on the radio. And I'm a true believer. I'm a true believer in all they can do to provide faster recovery from day-to-day aches and pains, dealing with injuries, dealing with recovery from surgical operations, and generally just to have a better holistic life, a healthier life, because it's chiropractic and it's so much more. They've got the studio at Comprehensive Chiropractic, Health and Wellness Center upstairs. Beautiful, beautiful second floor venue on top of Comprehensive Chiropractic on the base level. Pilates, yoga classes, all kinds of other classes, certified experienced instructors. Beautiful setting, really peaceful, really serene, really gorgeous. Big skylights. Massage therapists. Yes, massage therapy. Sure, it feels good. It's also a wonderful method of healing and restoration for the body. Combining that with chiropractic as your foundation will make you feel fantastic, 10 years younger. Personal trainers. They've got personal training at Comprehensive Chiropractic. They've got nutritional advisors as well. They want to make sure that, they're not just coming in and taking care of, your aches and pains for that week, but they're helping build a better you. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance, available at cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Spring storms are on the way, and your home needs to be ready. At Connor Roofing, we specialize in roofing, siding, and gutters to protect your home from the elements. Don't wait for leaks or damage to strike. Our expert team will ensure your home stays safe and secure all season long. Call Connor Roofing today at 314-375-7475 for an inspection so you can enjoy the beauty of spring leak-free. Look us up at ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com. And remember to count on Connor.
Got tree troubles? Brock Tree Service has you covered. A Christian family-owned business with years of professional experience. From tree removal to stump grinding, emergency storm damage to snow plowing. We do it all. Residential, commercial, any job, any size. Free estimates, competitive pricing, and local experts you can trust. Call 314-267-2239 or visit brockstreeservicestcharles.com.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL, live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
Don't drink the water.
Come out, no use.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Come now, can you not see?
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 5:31 Central Time here in the Heartland. If you're out and about, be very careful. We're seeing all sorts of flash flood warnings all over the Metro St. Louis and Metro East regions. We got a lot more rain coming behind. Hopefully, Chris, we don't have to build an ark by the end of the weekend.
I hate that we're getting all of this rain because people are having flooded basements and all of that, but our region needs rain desperately. I go out to Sioux Passage Park up in North County, and you can walk across to Pelican Island, and that's supposed to be covered in water, of course. So there's a drought here in the Midwest. The rain is good.
We're filling up the basins as we speak. Speaking of the Metro East side, we're going to talk a little bit about our sister state right next door of Illinois and maybe some good legislation coming out of the once mighty land of Lincoln. Let's bring in Katie Reilly. She's the executive director of the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform. Katie, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here in the St. Louis Metro here on News Talk STL.
Great to be with you.
So, Katie, before we get into some of the nitty gritty, I know we're going to talk about foster care reform, very important issue these days. I know we have some bills pending in our Missouri legislature on this issue as well. Tell our listeners a little bit about the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform. What all sorts of issues do you guys all get involved with?
Well, it's no secret that lawsuit abuse and injustices to our legal system are rampant here in Illinois. And what we see is that 3 key counties, Cook, St. Clair, and Madison, are regularly listed among the worst jurisdictions in the country for lawsuit abuse. And this is according to the American Tort Reform Foundation's annual Judicial Hellholes report. And what this means to Illinois residents is that it adds an additional cost of about $4,281 per household to live here because of the abusive and aggressive litigation that we see in our state. And so that's something that we're working on, making sure people understand the costs that this litigious environment brings to our state. We work on making sure that we advocate for a fair, efficient, and predictable legal system that will allow our Illinois businesses, employees, and communities to grow and thrive.
Katie, I want to ask you about SB 1696 and HB 3138. My initial reading of it, it seems that foster care and centers are unable to get liability insurance. It's difficult for them. Is that correct, and why?
Yeah, so that's the issue at hand here. And without sufficient and affordable legal liability insurance, the private non-for-profit agencies that are responsible for caring for the majority of children in the state's foster care system would not be able to provide care. And so that's concerning. The state would have to take over those additional responsibilities for children in foster care, and that's a task which it just doesn't have the capacity to do. So these bills were introduced in both the House and the Senate with the goal of eliminating barriers for foster care providers to obtain insurance or maintain their current coverage. The problem is that these bills stalled, and they're stalled because of some of the bad actors that are out there, these aggressive attorneys that are filing lawsuits in the name of taking advantage of opportunities to line their pockets by pursuing this abusive litigation. And that's problematic for the most vulnerable in our communities.
Mm-hmm. So, Katie, I actually do a little bit of work in Illinois with some of the let me just say more freedom and liberty loving legislators over there. So I'm a little quite familiar with the difficulties of getting good ideas through the state legislature these days. Is this sounds though like this should be a bipartisan issue when we're dealing with eliminating barriers for foster care providers, because, you know, children generally are viewed as nonpartisan entities and national treasures. Do you have folks on both sides of the aisle who are interested in moving these bills forward?
Yeah, this isn't so much a partisan issue as it is a concerning example of the legal system abuse that we see in Illinois. So opponents work to stop this legislation to continue to allow the opportunity for those who wish to abuse the legal system to take advantage of loopholes for their own financial gain. So this isn't really about what's best for our communities in Illinois or the children that are in the foster care system. It's about people exploiting the legal system and creating abuses for personal gain.
Katie, I am not a member of the bar, but my partner, Tim Jones, is. Can you explain to me and the lay people, how does Madison County and Cook County, how do they become areas of where people want to place their lawsuits? How does that process work?
Yeah, those jurisdictions have traditionally been very generous to decisions and lawsuits. They have become venues of choice for some of the more aggressive and egregious lawsuits that we see. And just last year, we had to file an amicus brief to voice opposition to the concept of venue shopping, because so many cases were being filed in those Cook County, St. Clair, Madison counties. And so that's something that we're really trying to bring attention to, so people understand that the decisions that are made in those counties are not representative of the full state of Illinois.
Speaking to Katie Reilly, she's the executive director of the Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform, icflr.org on the internets. Katie, I believe the Illinois legislature, it sort of mirrors the Missouri legislative session as well. I know we're getting pretty late in our session here in Missouri. We got about 6 weeks left to go. I think Illinois is around on that same time frame as well. Is there time enough to get one or both of these bills? There's a Senate bill and a House bill here. Can we get either? Is there time enough to get either or both of them through the system? And how can our listeners help? We have a lot of listeners in central and southern Illinois. What can they do to assist this effort?
Sure. I think it's important just to get this important issue of legal reform on people's minds. If they want to call their legislators and let them know that they support Senate Bill 1696 and House Bill 3138, they're welcome to do that. The time is limited left in the session. Legislators get done in the end of May. So we don't expect these bills to advance, but it's important to get this important issue at the forefront of people's minds. So we're glad to have your listeners be thinking about lawsuit for reform and legal abuse as an issue here in the state of Illinois.
Katie, one reform that the Illinois Coalition of Legal Reform advocates for is jury anchoring. Tell us more about what that is.
Sure. Jury anchoring is a concerning practice that we see in some lawsuits, and it's when the lawyers that are prosecuting a case will come forward with suggested amounts that the jury should award in their decisions. And we think that's inappropriate. We think the jury should make their own decisions and not be at the whims of the suggestion of those that are bringing the case. So that's something that we find concerning, and we find it in other states concerning as well. But think that in Illinois, we should take up the mantle and take up that under our control.
And Katie, I see you have a whole host of priorities at your website, icflr.org. Are there any other items that are moving through the system you'd like to bring our listeners' attention to this late in the session?
Sure. There's something called the Extreme Weather Recovery Act that was introduced in Illinois. It's been introduced in other states as well. We don't know that it's going to be moving, but it's so egregious. And I really want to make sure your listeners understand this would allow the
sounds interesting.
Opportunity. Yeah, it would allow the opportunity to sue just about anybody because of extreme weather acts, and that's just out of control. So really hoping that Illinois does not advance that legislation. It's on our extreme watch list, if you will, and we're sending letters about that as we speak. So I think that's important for listeners to know. Some of these proposals are just really far out there, and it's really important that the average citizen pay attention. As I mentioned, it's costing thousands of dollars per every household in the state of Illinois every year. So there's a direct impact to each and every one of us that lives in the state because of these egregious lawsuits.
Katie, what do you say to critics of tort reform who say there shouldn't be a certain set amount or a ceiling for people who have suffered some type of injury that may have permanently or fully disabled them?
Sure. Well, we think that it's important to have legal reform in the state of Illinois, because when you don't, we see the devastating impact on our communities, and it unfairly burdens families and businesses and job creators. In addition, it deters economic growth across the state, and it prevents those who actually need help from receiving it. So we're really focused on getting a fair, efficient, and predictable legal system here in Illinois to help our employees, our businesses, and communities grow and thrive.
Have to have a balance, indeed. The Illinois Coalition for Legal Reform, we highlighted a lot of issues today, paramount foster care reform, and so much more. ICFLR.org. Katie, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate all of the great information.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Katie, before we let you go, where are you located in Illinois?
I'm based
Well,
here
the office,
in the
right?
Chicagoland
Okay.
area. Yeah, we're
Okay.
based out of Springfield, Illinois is our home address for the organization.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Great having you on.
Yeah, great to be with you. Thanks so much.
Have a great weekend. Indeed. Yes. Yeah, you can get out of whack on either side. You can do way too much tort reform and limit people's access to the courts, or you can have no tort reform at all, and it can be, no pun intended, Katie bar the door, and then you become a state that no business wants to exist in because you can get sued into oblivion.
I am just amazed to this day. When I first got involved in politics in 2000, 2002, around in that area, the trial lawyers were the absolute enemy of Republicans. Tort reform, you had to be for that or you weren't a loyal Republican. And now it's the complete opposite, that now Republicans take money from the trial lawyers. And I'm not making any judgment on it. I'm sincerely not making a judgment. I'm just amazed at just the turnaround, because I just remember the trial lawyers were the devil.
Well, remember, you can always tip the scales too far the other way.
Yeah.
And what happened in Missouri was we did a lot of tort reform,
Yeah.
and some felt that we were overreaching and doing too much. And the problem I began seeing, especially the last few years, people use tort reform, which, it tends to be an easier thing to do, to be honest. They use it as an excuse not to do other hard things. Well, we got to do this tort reform bill, so we don't have time for tax cuts, or name your favorite subject.
And that's where I got my argument for about the compensatory damages, the limits on it, because Sherman Parker, my late friend, he was a state representative in the legislature, and he was actually against tort reform. He was one of the rare Republicans that were for the trial attorneys. I actually went to an event for them that Lindsey Graham came into town, and I got a picture with them, and I put it on my Facebook page before. People are like, "Oh my God, how can you stand and take a picture with Lindsey Graham?" And it was at a MATA event. Give me a break. But anyway, like I said, it's no judgments. I'm just amazed to see the complete 180 over 20 years.
Especially in Missouri. Yeah. I've been on both sides. I've been on all sides. As a lawyer, I handled plaintiffs' cases and defense cases. What you want, Chris, is a level playing field. You want people to have easy access to the courts to redress their grievances, but you also don't want to have a system where every single business gets completely and utterly bankrupt and run out of town.
Tim, what's your thoughts on people who suggest in our system we should adopt what Britain has, that the loser pays the other's legal bills, and that will discourage frivolous lawsuits, the theory goes? What do you think of that?
I like that in concept, but on the other hand, sometimes cases are lost not because the other side is right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with juries, I think there would have to be some, I like it in concept. There'd have to be some devil in the details work done on that. It is 5:45 in the PM. This is our last segment, not only of the show, but of the week.
Yeah.
What a week it was. Wow. This was a wild week of weather, of tariffs, of international news, local news, and on the statewide level. We're going to be back to wrap it all up. We're going to prepare you for Larry Connor's USA, and maybe Joey will give us a tip or two of what to possibly watch over the weekend, because probably tomorrow, at least, you're going to be stuck indoors. So
There's some very interesting public domain horror film characters.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if you've heard about this, but Steamboat Willie, there's a horror film that's in theaters.
I heard about that.
Popeye the Sailor Man has one.
I heard about
and then over the past couple of years, there's been a couple Winnie the Pooh horror films. I don't know if you've paid attention to these.
They should make a Casper the Ghost horror film.
It seems too easy.
I know, but that would be great.
It's something like every, has to go into the public domain after 75, 100 years. I wonder how old Casper is. Steamboat Willie is very old, so is Winnie the Pooh.
Caspers ghosts are timeless.
Of course, but you know what I'm saying. Copyright
We'll go further off the beaten track next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Is preparing for Larry Connor's USA. Happy Friday. 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
It's Friday.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Rain and storms are likely this evening. Some of them could be heavy at times. Flash flooding is a real concern. We also could have some stronger cells that produce hail up to the size of quarters. We'll drop to 47 overnight. Unfortunately, more rain is likely on Saturday, especially in the afternoon, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. It's going to be a breezy day with a high of 53. A 50% chance of showers and storms Saturday night as we drop to 38. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of showers mainly during the morning. And then the rain finally ends, the afternoon high, 50 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Well, countries are already starting to fold after the President Trump tariffs were put in place. We'll ask Rob Bluey from the Heritage Foundation and the Daily Signal to help us sort that all out Monday at 9:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, DIY warriors, ready to transform your outdoor space? Start with Lee May Concrete Block, St. Louis's trusted family-owned manufacturer since 1947. Whether you're building a retaining wall, creating a backyard fireplace, or pouring concrete, Lee May's got you covered. From compact blocks to large cast concrete, they provide materials and professional guidance to bring your vision to life. Military and first responders get special discounts. Visit Lee May Block Showroom or LeeMayBlock.com. Lee May Block, building your dream one block at a time.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Go inside and get my pickle. Go inside and get my pickle.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
5:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. I've got 3 quick stories, and we're going to finish the show up in movies. One big story: columnist Eugene Robinson who is a frequent person on MSNBC. He has won a Pulitzer Prize. He's an African-American columnist. He has left the Washington Post out of really kind of a protest. Jeff Bezos announced that the paper will take a more center-right editorial stance. That was too much for him, and so he has resigned from the Washington Post. Kind of a big story there. And a couple of sports stories. I wish they would just leave stuff alone. The NFL will sideline the physical chains it has long used to measure first downs and rely instead on cameras beginning next season. Cameras are efficient alternative. They're saying, quote, cameras are an efficient alternative to the process of walking chains onto the field and manually measuring 10 yards, the league said in a release. So this sounds like a speed up the game kind of thing to me more than anything. It says the chains will still be available as a secondary option. And the final sports story, this is not even fair. You guys heard about the torpedo bat that the Yankees used?
No.
It's this new design bat.
Vic is
Tim.
obsessed with it.
They hit 9 freaking home runs in their opening day game. It's the bat. The new design shifts some weight away from the end of the bat and toward the middle. It looks like a bowling pin kind of in the middle. It says players can swing faster and the impact can be greater when that ball hits a ball. The end is shaped a little like a bowling pin. Victus, MLB's official bat maker, produced the first torpedo bats last year at the Yankees' request. No figures. It made about a dozen and then another dozen this spring. So 9 home runs, Tim. 9 home runs. I'm wondering how long will it be before this bat is outlawed?
Yeah, we'll see. Kind of like in golf a few years ago, they took the there was wedges. Wedges were being used with these grooved these special grooves, milled grooves, and they got rid of that. And so there was that. And one more sports mention. St. Louis Blues.
Oh, yeah.
11 wins in a row. They are firmly in, I think, 3rd or 4th place, and they are first in the wild card.
I think you were like during the break humming Gloria, weren't you?
I might have been.
Yeah.
I might have been. I don't know if we got that horn available, Joey.
I can do it.
Sure. Yeah. There it is.
You go.
Let's
All right,
go
Joey.
Blues.
They're talking about 50-degree weekend. Cloudy, clammy, rainy, good day to stay in and watch movies or Netflix or binge-worthy. I need a good binge-worthy series, but you have the floor, my friend. Go for it.
Well, I was going on Fandango to see which new movies were out this weekend, and I was reminded that Steamboat Willie went into the public domain January 1st, and that means horror films come out faster than you can say, what the heck is that? So there's this new movie called Screamboat.
Yeah.
That's going to be at the Alamo Drafthouse, and it's like Mickey Mouse murdering people on the Staten Island ferry. But there's certain rules that comes with that. He doesn't talk in the original short, so this character doesn't speak.
Hey, I'm going to murder you.
I know you can't do the voice, and he has to be in black and white. You can't show him, with the red pants and the yellow buttons. So
okay. So it's limited to what it was at that time. Otherwise, trademark infringement.
Exactly. And that reminded me, there's also a new horror film out right now that you can rent on demand. Popeye the Slayer Man.
The Slayer Man.
They go into the spinach factory to find out the ghost of Popeye who murders
Now, are you going to watch this stuff? Do you like these things?
These trailers are fun. The movies are a slog.
So are they looking 150 million a weekend for this or what?
I think they made them for a song and a nickel, and if they make any profit, good for them.
What do you think they'll make off something like this? Just you're a movie guy. What do you think it would cost to put together what they are putting in the theaters, and how much money do you think they'll make off this, and how much time do you think they put into this?
Oh, this
years?
Screamboat one looks awful. The Popeye one, the forearms actually look like they cost them a pretty penny. I don't know if you remember Robin Williams when he did his Popeye one. It's actually on par with that.
Okay.
So it probably cost them, a few $100,000. And then just on curiosity alone, if they make $1 million, I mean, that's all they need.
Yeah, that's true.
Tripled your money.
Winnie the Pooh was in public domain a couple years ago. So there's already been Pooh, Blood and Honey, these horror films that have come out.
And I've talked about my theory on this many, many times. I feel that once you have curated a work out of your mind, you fashioned it, it's yours forever. I just don't believe in you got it for 70, 80 years and then somebody else can use it. It should be yours and your heirs forever.
Yeah, it looks like
I seriously don't understand that.
70 years after the author's death or 95 years after it came out. So your Casper the Friendly Ghost horror film has to wait a few more years because it came out in 1945.
Maybe it'd be live action.
I know, right?
No, you can't. Yeah, it has to be the cartoon.
But the big movie that came out this weekend is Minecraft. I didn't get a screening for that, but that is for babies. Like 10-year-olds are excited for that one.
I've been seeing the ads. So Jack Black?
Jack Black is hosting Saturday Night Live this week to coincide with that. And it's got Aquaman as well.
Yeah.
And it seems like, Jason Momoa has turned from the big murdering type guy from, what was he on, Game of Thrones? Now he's just a kid's actor, and good for him, doing the comedy role.
I had Tim, you got a question? I had something, but I forgot.
I got a good long movie for people to watch this
Yeah.
weekend if you really want to hunker down and get cozy. I didn't watch all of it last night, Joey, because it was, and Chris, it was almost 3 hours long. The Last Duel. The Last Duel.
Oh, that's a Ridley Scott one,
Cast
right?
of Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is the executive producer. Matt Damon is in it, which means of course Ben Affleck is in it, and Adam Driver is in it. And the female lead, Marguerite, is played by I can't remember her name. Joey, can you remember?
I can't remember. That one was such a long one that it did make me not want to see it in the theater. But if you're recommending it, I will check it out.
It's a period piece.
What is it again?
It's called The Last Duel. You got to really be into these period pieces. Late 1300s, Chris, in France. We the people of France.
When men were men.
Yes. Oh, and this movie has got some. This movie tackles some tough topics, and it is very gritty.
When men could be men. Quickly, Joy, can you give me me and Becky a good Netflix binge-worthy series? I need something that's been around 3 or 4 years so we can watch it for 6 months straight.
You keep saying that. I mean,
I do. I need a good
You need to
binge-worthy.
check out Moneyball. Forget that it's 2011. You need to see Moneyball. But if you haven't watched Heat in a while, you need to celebrate Val Kilmer's life, and you need to watch Heat because Godfather is your favorite film.
Oh, I love them.
So you got to see Robert De Niro and Al Pacino come face to face, cop and robber in the diner scene.
Great movie.
I think I have seen that.
Great movie.
I think I have seen it, but I think it was like on network TV, so it had like 17
it would have been 5 hours long.
Exactly. All right, great show, guys. We had today. Great week. We've got Larry Connor's USA coming up. Larry's going to talk about the Wall Street fighting against Trump's tariffs, but they're designed to help Main Street, the push for no state income tax, and reminding you when Obama and even Pelosi supported tariffs. Larry Connor's USA 6 to 8. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great weekend.
Craving real barbecue, St. Louis? Your search ends here. 4 incredible locations: Bogart's, Dale's Smokehouse, and 2 Pappy's Smokehouse spots, each serving up mouth-watering, slow-smoked perfection. Only the highest quality meats, prepared with love and care by our friendly staff. From ribs to brisket, our full menu has something for everyone. Dine in for lunch or dinner, or let us cater your next event. Bogart's, Dale's Smokehouse, and Pappy's Smokehouse. Where smoked meats delight, every bite is a highlight.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be